Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The Deputy Prime Minister weighs in on those voter fraud concerns. That story straight ahead.
The FNM Deputy Leader says there is cause for concern at the Parliamentary Registration Department. The story coming up.
Dr. Michael Dowell responds to critics calling NHI a political ploy. That story is coming up tonight, straight ahead.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina McNeil. Topping news tonight, voters who registered more than once may have just been confused and not deliberately trying to beat the system. That's the explanation Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Works Philip Brave Davis is giving today after voter fraud reports were confirmed by Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn Hall yesterday. Our Jasmine Brown caught up with Davis outside Cabinet this morning and filed this report. Jasmine?
The Deputy Prime Minister says he isn't sure if those voters had malicious intent or were simply confused about the process.
So I don't know that I can't speak to it whether it was deliberate or whether that's a complete misunderstanding on the part of the electorate themselves.
On Monday, Hall revealed that some people have registered to vote for the approaching general election more than once. In cases where people have registered twice, Hall says the duplicate voters' cards were deleted. However, Davis says he is not rushing to judgment at this point, insisting that while those people who registered twice may have had malicious intent, there are still many voters who are confused about the process.
Well, I'm not concerned about it. I don't know what informed those, what they call double registration. There are a lot of misconceptions that's out there in the minds of the Bahamian public.
The DPM says he personally knows of several cases where voters aren't exactly clear about the process.
I know of persons who were querying, having registered and not got their card when they heard that the registrar had in fact died or was put to an end. Were questioning whether they had to register again.
Now, Davis says at this point, the Parliamentary Registration Department should remain vigilant to prevent further cases of voter fraud. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Meanwhile, all Bahamians should be concerned with what's happening with the 2017 registration and election process, according to Free National Movement Deputy Leader Peter Turnquest. Turnquest tells our news that after hearing that some people have registered twice, he can't help but worry about the integrity of this election process. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
If there is one error on that register that causes or allows a person to vote more than once or to vote in a constituency to which they do not belong, it has the ability to change the results of an election.
Turnquest said constituencies have been won by 2 and 3 votes before, so it matters greatly that people have been able to successfully register twice. The FNM Deputy Leader said despite the Parliamentary Commissioner's assertion that those people were caught and one case has been forwarded to the police, it is unacceptable that in 2017, new technology hasn't yet made the voter registration process in the Bahamas as seamless as possible.
There's no reason why the register ought not to be fingerprint-based, for instance. So that you register and that your name is in the system, identified with a fingerprint.
There have also been reports of missing cards and voter cards without seals. Hall said the missing cards would be found. As for the seals, he said it appears registration officers may not be pressing hard enough, but they are there. Turnquest said he believes there are professionals in the Parliamentary Registration Department, but that there are some major weaknesses.
With all of the other irregularities that have been reported, we have to be concerned because, this is one of those situations where you only have to be wrong once.
Now, when it comes to that claim made by the FNM leader that there was a computer crash at the Parliamentary Registration Department and that names were removed from the register, Turnquest also came to the defense of his leader, saying that he doesn't think ministers would just pull information from the sky without being able to back it up.
We do not have the ability, particularly with this particular government, to divulge those sources. Because we're talking about civil servants. We're not going to put anybody's job at risk.
Turnquest said the FNM will go through the register of each constituency to be sure there is no one trying to cheat the system. Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, as the election season intensifies, the Progressive Liberal Party took its campaign to the east, where Prime Minister Perry Christie asked voters for 5 more years. Vonique Toot reports.
Prime Minister Perry Christie was wide awake last night as he jogged on stage to address party supporters during a joint branch meeting for Seabreeze, Nassau Village, and Elizabeth.
I know, man, what them other people talking about, what they saying. I've come to you to ask you tonight to give us another opportunity to serve you, to build on the foundation that we have established.
The PLP leader says he comes to voters with humility to ask for 5 more years to complete his work. With a general election looming, Christie says there has never been so much at stake.
Because that is what the people of this country must know. That with us, you're going to get a proven, stable product. Not one that's shifting, not one that's broken, but not one that's not together. We are together.
Deputy Leader Philip Brave Davis predicted further friction in the FNM following Brent Simonette's return to frontline politics.
Simonette said he was retired, and yet he is deep in the political scene once again. What do you think brought him back? What do you think brought him back? He just couldn't wait to serve a leader who was voted out by his own colleagues in Parliament. A leader whose Senate appointments have had to resign in scandal and disgrace. A leader who can't keep his own party together. Watch your back, Minister.
Faced with voter apathy and a disillusioned electorate, Christie insisted that big changes are on the way. He urged supporters to not only vote for the PLP, but encourage others to register.
Change is happening in the Bahamas. And listen now, big changes are on the way.
More than 146,000 people have registered to vote thus far. Party leaders say those voters who still aren't sold on the idea of 5 more years of a PLP government should consider this. Reporting for our News, I'm Vonique Toot.
Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson is labeling FNM leader Dr. Hubert Minnis' recent comments on Baha Mar disappointing. Maynard Gibson insists she is often shocked by the FNM leader's negative rhetoric about Baha Mar.
Very, very disappointed that as an aspirant to become the future leader of this country, just for purely political reasons, he would root against Bahamians. If you note from the very beginning, he was rooting against Bahamians. He wanted it in Delaware so the Bahamians would get nothing. It would never be solved. And the goalpost keeps on changing, and when it changes, it's always against Bahamians.
In a statement issued last Thursday, Minnis called last week's handover of Baha Mar a political ploy and nothing more than a photo op. He also denied claims that the FNM is opposed to the opening of Baha Mar. But Maynard Gibson, who attended the handover, defended its significance.
Most important thing last week for me was to see those young people and to speak to those young people who were engaged and being trained, and they were so excited. And speaking to other young people as well, some of whom have been re-engaged and all of whom have been paid off.
The Mega Resort's phased opening is slated for April 21st. Still to come on our News, the Grand Bahama Minister denies claims NHI is a political ploy. He says government moves to renovate public clinics. That's coming up when our News returns.